Welcome to Fighting Back, news talk, current events, and political commentary. Now here's your host of Fighting Back, Ron Ludders.
Well. Thank you, everybody. Stop the applause. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
The audience gets bigger and bigger. Have you noticed that?
They love us. They absolutely love us.
Well, we give them prizes, so it's
At any rate, we're here. It's Wednesday night, and we are fighting back. And of course, we have our correspondent, Josh Bernstein, and he's always here, and he's always lively.
Every Wednesday.
And he's clean shaven, and he got a haircut first for tonight. And then, of course, there's the Ray Michaels.
Hey,
and he's got his hair in a bun. He never gets a haircut.
No, well, I figure I bought and paid for it, so I might as well use it.
Did you say you're bought and paid for?
My hair.
Oh, okay.
Your hair
Hair.
is
Okay. So anyway, we'd like to welcome you to the show tonight. We've got a lot of things here. Some really interesting things that I've got my little pocket constitution here, and I hope you all have yours, because we're going to talk about how the United States government is violating the civil rights of American citizens.
Yeah.
And so get it handy dandy, and it's one that we never hear about. It's one of the amendments. It's the 6th Amendment to the United States Constitution.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's a friend of ours. And Ray had interviewed this gentleman. We're going to talk about that. But before we do, there are a couple of things we want to talk about. One, as you know, YouTube has done a number on us, and we're still unable to post things, current things, to YouTube. They've left a lot of our prior things open. So I want you to go there if you want to see some of the older shows. But we did a show one time about the pandemic, and they totally disagreed with one of the assessments that our guest had made. And as Ray, what do we always tell the audience?
You know what? We just provide information. You check it out for yourself. We're not going to do this for you. You have to get out there, get involved, get off the couch, start doing some research for yourself.
And YouTube decided that we were too strong in our opinions. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, Josh, because we know that some of the things we talked about a month ago are now coming around, and they're haunting some people.
Well, I read something today, Josh, you probably saw this as well, is that they're no longer going to take off if people are saying something that the virus was man-made, because they were taking everything off for a while, but now it seems that the commission that the president started to find out, we have the resident-in-chief who came in. He said, no, we're not going to do anything. And now he started another commission because he's the good guy.
Right. The illegal squatter in the stolen White House. But let me just say, it was somewhere around March of 2020, in the very, very beginning stages of COVID and coronavirus and all that. I had sources back then that were accurate sources. And I said back then and reported back then that there's absolutely no way whatsoever at all that this could have been started in a meat market or outside.
Or in a cave.
Or anywhere else other than the Wuhan Institute of Virology at the Biosafety Level 4 lab. It was started by Dr. Zhijing Li, and that was known as the Batwoman. And she took the great horseshoe bat and she spliced the genes and she infected it with a SARS-2 virus. She then injected that into a mouse, and she spent months trying to splice it back and forth over and over and over until she could get animal-to-animal transmission. However, that wasn't good enough for the Communist Chinese Party. They wanted it to be able to go from animal to human transmission. So they told her to continue to do her work, funded by Dr. Falsey. Let's not forget that as well. And basically what happened was eventually she figured out how to splice it from animals to humans. And that's when the first cases started to come. So I started reporting back on that in March, April of 2020. It's interesting now, after all this time, the media has finally caught up to the fact.
Now this is all surrounds the gain of function, right? Mm-hmm. When they start splicing things and trying to make them move from animals, species to another, or from animal to human, This is all the gain of function that everybody's been hearing about now. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely part of it. But also we have to understand that as the process was continuing, they were trying different things with this virus. They were trying different strains of AIDS, believe it or not. They were trying other SARS viruses. And so they were kind of mixing it and mingling it through. I don't believe it escaped through the lab. I believe, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, that more than likely this was a bioterrorism weapon. It was done by the Communist Chinese Party and
CCP.
The CCP, and they wanted to stop President Trump. And they knew that he was crushing them in trade, crushing them on calling them out for currency manipulation, for all these other things. Their economy was in the toilet. Ours was doing fantastic. And so they released this virus in order to stop President Trump and, of course, to stop America, because President Trump was the leader of the free world. And the collateral damage of that decision, where it went into Europe and everywhere else, and India and all around the entire world, they don't care about that because it served its purpose. The Democrats were happy about it because, of course, it helped them. And that's really the sad part about it. And now we find out that Beijing Biden doesn't even want to continue to look into the origins
Exactly.
and talk about, the fact of being bought and paid for by the CCP. He's now backing down and backtracking from doing the investigation. Unreal.
And Josh, we know that Dr. Fauci is perhaps speaking out of both sides of his mouth for the last 18 months. This man changes his opinion of things as fast as we change our socks. Mm-hmm. And Ray, I can't believe that every time I turn around, this guy's and he's paid like $500,000 a year for his
Taxpayer money.
Opinions that are worth nothing, in my opinion.
Well, he just made a statement. He said that he cannot guarantee that the public's money was used for gain-of-function research in the Wuhan lab.
Right.
Now, he's in charge of all that.
Right.
So how could he not guarantee that our taxpayer money was not used to make that happen? How can he not guarantee that?
Yeah. Well, one thing that I'll say is that there needs to be a full investigation. Absolutely, a full investigation. Rand Paul is absolutely correct. We need a full investigation.
And, of course, the administration does not want to do that.
Now, there was something released, I think it was today or yesterday, that the resident-in-chief wants to now start this, that there's pressure, there's so much pressure that he says, okay, we will now investigate.
Yeah, but he wants our deep state, our intel community
This is what I'm
to
saying.
do the investigation.
Oh,
It's kind of like Eric Holder investigating Eric Holder back in the day with the Fast and Furious.
Yes.
Right,
It's
a
ridiculous.
lot like the Board of Supervisors doing their own audit on their
Right,
own results. of the
exactly. It's
election.
like Katie Hobbs running the audit. Okay, it wouldn't make any sense.
You mean the same Katie Hobbs that believes that Trump supporters are neo-Nazis? Is that
Yes, the one
is
that's
that the
bought
Katie
and paid
Hobbs
for
you're
by
talking
George
about?
Soros,
Hey,
but who finally got a smackdown today.
Josh, we talked on Monday about these people that are elevated to this, oh, you are our darling. We talked about Cuomo in New York, where he was everything was great, and then all of a sudden he starts crashing and burning. Well, the same thing happened with our Secretary of State, Katie Hobbs, where she was the darling on all of the newscasts, and now tell us what happened today.
Well, it's very interesting. A couple things happened. First and foremost, the DNC versus Hobbs is a lawsuit that the DNC and the Democratic Party in Arizona filed a while back to basically continue with ballot harvesting, which again should be illegal. And they also wanted to be able to have people vote out of their precincts. Okay, so basically they wanted to continue to steal because obviously when you don't have a message, when you have absolutely zero to offer the American people, well, then, you have to do other means to gain power. And so she decided not to appeal this decision, which then kicked in Attorney General Mark Brnovich to then
Who was a Republican, by the way.
Right, to intervene into the lawsuit. And that's where we're at right now. Now, the other part that's been great is the Appropriations Committee in the Arizona House of Representatives. God bless each and every one of you for doing this. they have not necessarily censored, but what they have done is they have stripped Katie Hobbs's power to be part of the election audit lawsuits all the way till 2023, and instead have directed Mark Brnovich, the Attorney General, to represent any type of litigation.
And Josh,
So,
we know.
glad to hear that.
And Josh, we know that when this started heating up towards the end of November, that she lawyered up. She and not cheap lawyers.
George
either.
Soros's money.
$1,500 an hour attorneys.
but
the
that's
Perkins Coie, Mark Elias folks.
But isn't
Right.
that taxpayer money?
They were using taxpayer money, yes.
So the Appropriations Committee, for those who are listening that are not familiar, in the legislature you have several committees that handle certain things. Appropriation is basically the purse strings, right? They handle the money. So they basically said to our Secretary of State, we are tightening the purse strings and not allowing you to spend taxpayer monies to defend whatever is your pet project for
Right.
this week. So thank you to the Arizona legislature, because we talked about this. We talked about this last week.
Yeah, you mentioned something about the purse strings. I remember
Right.
you mentioning something last Wednesday.
See, you
about it.
do listen to the show. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no. So that's really what they need to start doing then. Just tightening up. And you know what? You can't spend the taxpayers' monies. It's their money, and it's not for you to hire
Right.
these out-of-state, high-priced attorneys.
Ray, even the Board of Supervisors now are using the county attorneys to support their position against the taxpayers of the county. This is outrageous.
Yeah.
Right, and let me add this. No matter what happens at the end of this audit here, this audit is going to be litigated. In other words, the left is going to do everything they can to keep the results from coming out. So they're going to try to find a sympathetic judge in the Ninth Circuit Court of Schlemiels, and they're going to find that judge, or try to find that judge, and they're going to try to get a gag order, temporary or permanent, and they're going to kind of hold this out as long as they can so that the results don't come out. Well, let me tell you point blank, I will leak those results no matter what. Don't care what the consequences are. The information is going to come out, and if it won't come out in everybody else's media, it'll come out on Josh Bernstein Uncensored.com.
That's right.
That's not a threat, that's a promise.
That's right.
And because we don't use the F word here, and I'm not using there's two
I
F
do
words.
a lot.
But not on this show.
Not on the
because
air, though, of course.
When we use the F word here, ladies and gentlemen, we get kind of slapped and taken offline. So we want to make sure. Now, the other thing, while we're talking about that, we mentioned YouTube. Where are we at now, Ray?
With YouTube?
No, we're not on YouTube now.
Right? No. What happens is, they have so much control, but I think our legislature is trying to do this. I know that in the state of Florida, is it in the state of Florida? Didn't the governor there just say that if you censure any free speech? Tell us about that.
Yeah,
Josh.
Ron DeSantis, the best governor that's in the history of Florida, for that matter.
Anybody by
And
the name
best-
of Ron is a good guy.
And the best governor right now in America today.
Gotcha,
no
DeSantis.
question about it. And they just passed a law. What was it? Senate Bill 7072. I'm going by memory here. And basically, it charges $250,000 per day if a Silicon Valley platform censors or removes a political candidate from their platform. It also opens up the floodgates to anyone, a Floridian in particular, to be able to sue the Silicon Valley companies. So what I would say is, if you live in Florida, please contact an attorney. If you've ever been taken down, have you ever been given a 30-day timeout on Facebook, if you've been shadow banned on Twitter, do what you can, contact an attorney and see what you can do. See if you can send them documents, images, videos, whatever, screenshots that you have been censored. And if you don't live in Florida and you have family there and you have an address there, so be it. Do the same thing. We need to bombard social media companies with lawsuits and litigation so that we can bankrupt them.
That's right. And speaking of governors, there was just a governor organization that I believe Mike Lindell
Yes.
went to. Josh, can you tell? Josh Bernstein, Uncensored.com. You have to visit this because you're going to get the cutting edge stuff, and we're so blessed to have you here every Wednesday. But Josh, what happened with Mike Lindell?
Well, Mike Lindell, unfortunately, was thrown out of the Governors Association meeting.
Now, did he have permission to be there? Do you buy tickets? How does it work?
Well, apparently, he probably did something that he shouldn't have done, which was kind of
on Steve Bannon's show.
Yeah, forecasted what he was planning on doing. I love Mike. I had a chance to interview him a few weeks ago. Great guy, great patriot.
And I sleep with his pillow.
Yeah, there you go. As a matter of fact, he still owes me a
pillow?
weighted blanket. No, a weighted blanket. But anyway, they're just the best if you haven't used one. It's the greatest night's sleep in the world.
Is this
anyway,
a paid announcement?
No, it's not.
No, but it
honestly,
should be.
But they're just the best night's sleep in the world. So anyway, so he then kind of forecasted what he was going to do on Bannon's show.
And there was
as
two
you
in,
just
two
mentioned.
in particular. Two
Yeah,
governors
yeah,
that
yeah.
he was going to call out.
He was going to come after Brian Kemp,
Right.
and of course
Of Georgia.
our Doug Ducey
And Doug
here.
Ducey of Arizona.
Right, and I believe Doug Ducey is the chairman.
He is
I
the
think,
pre-
or
the president?
or
Yeah.
the chairman of
Yeah.
the National Governors
Governors
Association.
Association.
So they decided not to allow him in, which is unfortunate because I really would have wanted to see the video on him confronting the two of them. So.
Yeah.
We're getting too much of that these days. If you don't like somebody, just censor them. Don't let them have
Yeah.
airtime. The arguments that are free speech of which this country is based. But Ray, where I was going before is when people want to see, say, the show tonight, they're not going to be able to see this on YouTube. You can go to our platform that you're watching now.
Are you ready to rumble?
Exactly, and we're on Rumble. And when you get to Rumble, and that's a new platform that's taken over a lot of the YouTube refugees, I guess is the word. And so we have a place on there, and we want you to go to that spot and put in Hub Radio Phoenix, and you'll pull up some of our work. Now, there's a little bit difference. You have to put there's a little plus sign when you pull up something. Press the plus sign, and that just means you're adding to our list of supporters.
Yeah, they don't call them subscribers; they call them rumbles.
Rumbles.
Now,
Yeah, you got so many rumbles.
You're on Rumble, aren't you, Josh?
I'm very limited on social media on purpose because, again,
He's
I
a troublemaker, and
I concentrate everything to the website. So I do have a few ant trails, I'll call them, that leads back to the website.
Well, it's my understanding that on Rumble you have to have a certain number of people that press the plus sign. Otherwise, they drop you off. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. So that's why we're encouraging you to push the plus sign so that we can stay on there and continue to present this content for you. So just gives you another opportunity.
And it's important you do that because otherwise we lose another one of these. And the things that we put out are very important. You know, a lot of people, we get people from around the world, especially the East Coast, you know, where you're from. You know, these people are just, the conservative people there are just dying.
Stuck.
They're
stuck in the
stuck
tyrannical
because there's so
regimes
many
of the
liberals
East
there,
Coast.
and they're just dying to get information, and they just come running with their arms open wide. Tell us more. Tell us more.
Because they're hungry for this. You know,
For the truth.
Everybody in the United States has always been able to go to a forum where you can hear different things. You can hear different ideas.
Right.
That's what made us so great, is because everybody throws out their ideas and then one rises to the top.
Exactly.
But
when you can't compete in the arena of ideas,
Right.
you certainly don't want others talking about their ideas. And that's truly what's happening in America. That's what's happening in Silicon Valley. And it's interesting, as far back as 2015, I started using the tagline, "Truth is the new hate speech." You can go back to my videos if you can find them, way back when, and you'll see that. And I've also said, of course, telling the truth becomes a revolutionary act in times of universal deceit. That's not my quote. That's actually from George Orwell. And then, of course, my favorite one is the further a society gets away from the truth, the more they will hate those that speak it. And we are living through that right now, and It's frightening.
Now, I wanted to take a minute while we're still talking about the audit, and we're going to move on because we made some promises on Monday's show that we're going to work with tonight. But there was a little headline that came out not too long ago today, and I want to read the headline because it's really important to read the headline and see the misrepresentation of some facts that are a little less than what the headline would indicate. So the headline says, Arizona recount tech company backs out of the election audit.
Well, that sounds really serious. You mean there was a tech company that said, you know what, we're done with this. We can't do this anymore. We're disillusioned and we're leaving.
Right.
Is that what happened?
That's kind of what they're saying.
Yeah.
However,
That's not exactly
that's
it.
not really what happened. They had
Tell
a
us, Ron.
contract through May 14th.
Oh,
wait,
they
hold
left out, they left out that one
They
detail.
left it out
So
that
you-
their contract was over.
So you mean that they signed a contract that they would start on this date, end on this date,
This date.
and everybody knew it, and they all agreed to it, and
Yeah.
when
and
they
then
finished
when they
the
left,
contract,
they backed out.
so-
They're backing out.
okay, well, were they referring to their automobile as they left after they finished the contract?
No, they
Did
just
they
said
backing
leave
up?
They
on
backed
the
out.
13th instead of the 14th? That would be
No.
considered
Yeah,
backing
that would
out.
be backing out.
Now, on the
yeah.
14th,
Oh,
now
so
here's
they
the interesting
completed
thing, ladies and gentlemen. The
their
audit, the audit stopped on the 14th because the Veterans Memorial Coliseum was the site of high school graduations.
And we've known that for a long time.
That has been in the mill for over a year, so that everybody stopped. So their contract was over. Now, they did not extend the contract because apparently they didn't want to extend it.
they probably had other clients that they needed to look after.
So, but they set up all of the procedures for the recount, the manual recount, of which the Democrats have just screamed bloody murder, that how unfair it was. Now, according to one of our people here, Randy Pullen, who was often on our show, and I believe Randy will be on Monday night, well, they took a local company, a Scottsdale company, StatTech Solutions, has taken over this responsibility, and they're using the procedures that were made by this company, which was Wake TSI, and they're using the same procedures, but they're using a different company.
So the first company knew that their contract expired on the 14th.
Yes.
And they're working with the secondary or company B, who comes in now and is following the exact same procedure as they did before.
Isn't that interesting?
I'll tell
But
you what,
yet
it's
that's
horrible.
called
It's
backing out.
It's horrible.
But it
That's called
says
backing out.
Arizona recount tech company backs out of the election audit.
And you wonder why I call them prostitutes.
Now, you see, that's not quite right. What the headline should have read is that the one company's contract was over.
Was expired.
has
right.
It expired. They
This company
fulfilled
is
their contract.
completed, and another company is now taken over using the same guidelines.
Yeah.
That would have been truthful.
Yeah, but they weren't truthful. And this is the media, the prostitutes, as you say. And it gives people the impression that these people left in a huff. They were all
Right,
upset.
that they were upset.
And there was nothing there. And, we're just on a wild goose chase. Not the case at all. Contract ended.
Now, how far into the actual article did you find that information?
Probably third paragraph.
All right. So if you're only looking at headlines,
Right.
they're going to sensationalize every single headline that says, Elvis makes a comeback. And
Right.
then you read later it says only 6 feet to go. So it's you
That's a good
really
one,
you have to go deep. You have to read the article, and sometimes these things are the headlines, and then you read it on page 7.
Yeah. You know who does that a lot is these fake fact checkers like PolitiFact and Snopes. They like to say things are mostly false or partly true, or, they give them these weird titles. And then even if they say that they're false, they're true. Because all you have to do is read the article, and at some point, just like that just happened, you'll find the truth. And I love exposing them. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. You read the whole thing, and at the very bottom, they give you the truth.
Josh, I'm curious, who makes these people, PolitiFact, Snopes, who
easy.
makes them the experts?
Right. Well, they're not experts,
Right, but
number
who,
one.
who are they? Who are they?
Their
PolitiFact
employer,
is,
who is generally the
I'll give you one on
company
PolitiFact. PolitiFact is run by a guy named Bill Adair. Bill Adair was trained by the CCP in China. He went into a resident journalism program in 2012 and was trained by the CCP. So you have, quote, independent,
Amazing.
impartial fact checkers that were trained by communists, okay? That's a fact.
Wow.
And so that's why they're garbage, and that's why no one should ever believe anything on social media that has a little thing on it that says that this information is false or not true or misleading.
We're going to have to take a break here in a minute, because we're going to transition to another segue is a better word.
Hey, before we do, can we just can we talk about what the show on Monday?
And that's what I wanted to mention.
Because I'd like
Why
to
don't you
mention
talk
this
a little
couple
about
times.
it? We talked about this on Monday night, and this is perhaps one of the most valuable things you can do in our society today. And,
Protect our veterans.
Ray, why don't
That's right.
you talk a little bit about
Well, on
that?
one side it says God bless our vets. Of course, we honor them. I always think if I see a vet anywhere, I always thank him or her for their service, because you know what, they gave up a portion of their life. Some even gave their lives
Absolutely.
to defend the freedoms that we have here. So Monday's going to be Memorial Day.
Yes.
And they're going to be at the National Cemetery, which is on Cave Creek Road. And it is right on Pinnacle Peak. It's just to the east from Carefree Highway, but they do have an entrance from there as well. And I know that Riders USA is going to be there bright and early, right around 6 a.m. They're going to be placing flags out. I think in years past, they put about 500 of these flags out. And it's just a way to go out there. I think 7 o'clock they have something going on. The motorcycles arrive, and you see hundreds of Harleys out there. And if you've heard one Harley start up, you have to hear 50 or 60 of them start up. So
The
this is
ground
going to be out
shakes.
there, and you can actually go to riderusa.net, and you can actually sponsor a flag. You can help them and participate in that. Now, you may have some other plans. You may be out of town. If you are in town here in the Metro Phoenix area, we encourage you to go out there first thing in the morning. It's a great way to start your Memorial Day. If you're out and about, you can still participate. Go to riderusa.net, sponsor one of the flags, and as always, God bless our vets.
And God bless America.
Amen
to that.
And so, at any rate, can we go to that break? And when we come back, we're going to get into something that we talked about also on Monday, and that is a little bit about this scenario that's going on January 6th.
Well, it has to do with our constitutional rights.
It does, and one of the friends that you had interviewed as
Yes.
well. So we're going to get into that.
All right.
So we'll see you on the other side. Do not go away under any circumstances.